こんにちは。私の名前はアンディです。元気ですか？元気です。ありがとう。ようこそ、またはお帰りなさい。My name is Andy. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Or if you're still following, thank you so much and welcome back. I'm excited to have everybody back and to continue on our journey of learning kanji. Now, today I'm going to be continuing with where I left off. And we're going to be using Tokeny Andy. So, another Andy. Two Andys. Me and Tokeny Andy is helping me out and helping you out. So, check out his channel. It's very good. So here we go. We're going to start off with the kanji for early. And I'm going to let Tokeny Andy take it as we all learn together. Gambaro. Here we go.
It's early in the video, and it might be early in the morning for you. So let's start with something simple. The kanji for early. The official radical for early is sun. See where this is going? The parts are sun and 10. There are 6 strokes in early.
I like when kanji has 2 parts so that you can make a story more easily. For me, especially with things like temple and what did we have last time? So for time, the sun setting over the temple, to me, I can picture that in my head. So it's easier to write a story. So let's check this out. This has 2 parts.
Start with the sun on top before moving down to the first horizontal stroke in 10. And finishing it off with the final vertical stroke. Historically, this was apparently a pictograph of a type of tree that was used for getting black dye. And this kanji was used to mean getting that black dye. Eventually, that changed into sunrise, perhaps indicating the change from dark to sunny. It then came to mean early. Apparently, it's also considered a pictograph of a spoon. This one looks like a dude wearing a baseball cap and scooping something into a vat or something.
Yes, it does.
With the bowl of the spoon out of frame. Otherwise, I'm not seeing the spoon. I see our first indications of aliens here, though. For our story, we're putting a fantasy spin on things.
Let me think about this real quick. So
the parts are sun and 10.
Let's see what he says. Someone is using a magic spell that brings a tiny sun off the end of a tent. Okay, how would you do this? Because I'm thinking about how can we use a story with the sun and 10. So make sure you're writing down in your notebook. So early. How about something weird to make us remember it? You need to wake up early to race 10 suns. That's easy enough for me.
You had to pause the video after each story and really try to imagine it, or to create a story of your own way. Alright, now that we're getting into the weeds, here's a kanji that means weeds. Every video.
Okay.
No exceptions.
Whoa.
The official radical for weeds is, appropriately, the grass radical crown.
Uh-huh.
And the parts are grass radical and early. The kanji.
Okay. I can see where we're going here. So, weeds. And
is written as expected, with the grass crown being written first, horizontal line, and cutting through it with 2 blades of grass. Then the sun part of early, followed by the 10 that it stands on. Historically, this kanji apparently used to mean acorn, and the bottom part was also basically the kanji early, with the earliest form of the grass kanji popping out of its head. Over time, it came to mean weeds, and acorn became this Kanken Level 1 kanji. Remember, Kanken Level 1 means even most Japanese natives can't read it, so really this is just a point of curiosity. Nothing you need to memorize or anything. Apparently, the part early in this kanji was chosen to indicate the Chinese reading of soul. For our story, we'll say that weeds are grass. That is always the earliest plant to pop up. It's
okay, so how can we use the previous kanji that we learned early and grass to come up with a story about weeds? Because I don't like his story. Sorry, Tokeny Andy. How about early early in the morning. How about just keep it simple? Early in the morning. Okay, so we have early. The grass sprouts many weeds. Early in the morning, the grass sprouts many weeds. Okay.
the like button. Here's a simple kanji that means grove, or sometimes a small forest. The official radical is clearly tree, and it's made of 2 trees for parts. There are 8 strokes in grove. What's important to notice here is that the 4th stroke in the first tree is much shorter than the 4th stroke in the actual kanji tree. This is to make room for the tree on the right. You can imagine the branches of the tree on the left disappearing behind the tree on the right, if that helps you. Historically, this kanji has changed very little and has always had the meaning of trees lined up together. When I hear the word grove, I personally think of a circular line of trees enclosing an open space in the middle. That lining up of the trees, though, is what's important to see here. For our story,
Grove. That's not a word that we use in English that often. Or at least I don't, because I don't live near a grove or the woods. I have heard it, but okay, so I'm just going to remember this because it's 2 trees. And I'm going to leave myself a note that says, remember the pictograph. I think that is probably sufficient.
story will have 2 trees make a grove. This is
That's actually a pretty decent story.
really a 2-part mnemonic, with the next kanji making up the second part. While you're waiting for that to pop up, why not hit the subscribe button and the bell? The alien overlords that roamed ancient sorry. Here are a few more trees. Well,
Wow.
just one more, really. This kanji means forest.
Okay, that's...
But I bet you guessed that already. The official
Yeah.
radical here is no surprise. It's just kidding. Tree. And it's made up of 3
Okay.
trees, which goes without saying. There are 12 strokes in forest. The top tree is written pretty much identically to the kanji for tree, though it's a little stumpier. The lower 2 trees are written like a stumpy grove. Each tree, of course, is written in isolation one at a time before moving on to any parts in the next tree. Remember to keep the 8th stroke, or the final stroke in the second tree, shorter to make room for the tree on the right, just like in grove. This kanji is historically consistent with grove in that it was always 3 trees and indicated a meaning of forest, or an area with lots of plant growth. So for our story, we'll continue from 2 trees make a grove.
Okay, I will go with that. I'm actually going to write the story for the grove. 2 trees make a grove. 3 trees make a forest. Okay, I like that.
2, 3 trees make a forest.
Guess which student has a better
Okay, so how are we doing? Let's keep it cooking. I think I know what this kanji is.
I always enjoy all the mingling that
No, I do
Yuki
not.
and I
I
get to
lied.
do with you in the chat.
Okay, let's write this down. So we got the what did we call that? That goes over top of the pot cover, I think he called that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mingle.
During the live streams, which happens after the premiere for these videos. We don't get a chance to mingle much. Mingle. Parts are pot lid and father.
That's what
there
it was.
There are 6 strokes in mingle. We start with the handle of pot lid, followed by the lid itself. We then draw the crowning 8 of father below the lid, followed by the grass clippers down below that. Historically, the appearance of this kanji hasn't changed much, but some explanations state that it was a pictograph of someone crossing their legs based on how the bottom part of the kanji looks. Specifically, they cross their legs below the knees to the ankle somewhere. More recent academics refute this claim and think the bottom part was actually the kanji for disability, which eventually became the kanji for yellow. I'm not sure which is true, but you could just mingle all of them together so that you don't forget that this kanji means mingle. It's also interesting to me how little we actually know for certain about the ancient past. We're going to have a little fun with this story. To become a member of the Fathers of the Potluck.
No, that's way too much. So I'm just going to be way more direct because I'm not going to remember all of that. That's just okay. So super simple. Let's keep it simple. A man wears a pot lid on his head and crosses his legs at the party and mingles, because that's what you do at parties. A man wears a pot lid on his head and crosses his legs at the party and mingles. That's what I'm doing. Okay. Ooh, got cool.
Help. We've seen a lot of trees today, so we might as well continue the trend with school, whose official radical.
So that one part looks like the radical, I just said that because he said it. The kanji for to rest. This one. It looks like
Is tree. The parts are tree and mingle. There are 10 strokes in school. We start with the tree on the left, being sure to make the fourth stroke quite a bit shorter than the kanji for tree so that mingle can fit on the right. This is going to be a trend for when tree shows up in the hen position or on the left position, if you haven't noticed yet. We then draw mingle on the right, pot lid first, followed by father mingle. There are 10 strokes in school. We start with the tree on the left, being sure to make the fourth stroke quite a bit shorter than the kanji for tree so that mingle can fit on the right. This is going to be a trend for when tree shows up in the hen position or on the left position, if you haven't noticed yet. We then draw mingle on the right, pot lid first, followed by father beneath. Historically, this has always been a combination of the same parts, with mingle indicating the Chinese reading of ko. With that said, it interestingly used to mean bonds or shackles, like some kid getting shackled to school, or perhaps prophesying how future schools would look a lot like prisons. Anyway, it was eventually borrowed to mean compare and learn when in words like school. For our story, we're continuing the story from Mingle, a school in the trees.
Nah. Okay. So we have mingle and tree to mean school. I mean, we can keep it real simple and just say there is a school next to a tree. But I guess we need mingle. So okay, how about this? Kids like to mingle next to the tree during break at school. Okay.
Is where the fathers mingle.
Okay. Now he's going to go on to a quiz. I'm going to, excuse me. Sumimasen. I'm going to do 2 today, since I have not had a chance to do a whole lot of studying. So if you're still with me, let's press on. And so here's what we just learned. Now we're going to lesson 16.
Welcome to the 16th Tokiniandi Kanji lesson. Today we're going to cover the meaning kanji.
Okay, let's check out these kanjis we're learning today. This one, I feel like, okay, so I'm curious to learn what this radical means, because I've seen this a lot before. Here we've got this kanji, we've got, is that go? Is that 5? And mouth. So this is that 1,000 on top of mouth? So we've got some radicals that I'm starting to recognize, which is a good thing. So let's what does this say?
Also learn the parts and radicals and stick around to the end of the lesson where we are not learning readings for each kanji just yet. Let's 4 words in this series, and we get into it.
Okay.
We haven't covered any words yet in this
series. Kobota. I think it's Kobota. I could be wrong. I'd have to look that up.
Series. And we still have a few more videos to cover before words. But our first kanji for today means word. Word is its own official radical.
Okay, so I'm just going to write radical. In my notebook, I've just been, because I have 3 columns. If you've been following along, you know, and I hope that you're doing the same. I have kanji, meaning, and story. If he gives us a radical, I just put a star next to it and write radical. And then when I go through and highlight the kanjis, if there's a part or a radical that he goes over, I just don't highlight it. So let's take a second and write this radical. So it looks like pot lid, and then 2 smaller strokes, 5, 6, 7. Okay.
But we can break it down into 3 parts. Well, 2 parts if we're looking at computer fonts, and 3 if we're looking at the written form. For written form, it's a dot with a few 1s and a mouth. Many computer fonts have an extra 1 on top instead of a dot.
Wow.
Since the written form of word has a dot on top, we start there and then draw the 3 horizontal strokes beneath it. It should be noted that the first horizontal stroke is the longest of the 3, with the ones below it written the same length as each other, for the most part. Finally, we draw the 3 strokes in mouth, finishing this one off. Historically, this was the kanji for tongue combined with a single 1. We could imagine this as one thing that rolls off the tongue is a word, though this was not explicitly stated as why these were the parts in any of the explanations I read. It eventually evolved into its current form to better differentiate it from the kanji for tongue, which we'll learn in another video. For our story, we're going to go with a teleprompter is above mouth, and mouth says all the words that come down the teleprompter. A teleprompter, for those of you you who don't know, is a piece of glass placed in front of a camera from which you mirror a script off of. You often see politicians using them during speeches, and many YouTubers use them as well. Remember that it's a good idea to pause.
Okay, so we have pot lid and mouth. Maybe if I just try drawing a character out of this somehow. I really got to think about this one. If you guys can think of a way to remember this one, and leave a comment on how you remember this kanji. I'm trying to think of what it looks like. This kind of looks like somebody's torso, and then their more upper body, and then like their arms and their head. Boy, I might just have to memorize this one. Because it has mouth. I'm gonna write mouths, say the word pot lid. That's all right, yeah.
The video after each story and really. Speaking of
Okay.
words, they're usually part of a language, which is what this kanji means. Language. The official radical for language is appropriately word. We can break it down into 3 parts though. Word, 5, and mouth. There are 14 strokes in language, making it by far the most stroke-heavy kanji we've covered to date. With that said, the parts are very well defined. Language.
Okay, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Language. You know what? I have seen this kanji quite a bit while studying my Anki decks. It'll usually say like, I speak a little Japanese or something.
The official radical for language is appropriately word. We can break it down into 3 parts though. Word, 5, and mouth. There are 14.
I'm gonna say the mouth says 5 words, and that is going to be my story. The mouth says 5 words that make a language. Okay.
Strokes in language, making it by far the most stroke-heavy kanji we've covered to date. With that said, the parts are very well defined, and I don't expect you'll have much trouble with them. We start by writing word on the left. When word is in the hen or on the left position, it's usually written thinner than usual to make room for the parts on the right. In writing, the first stroke on top of word will usually be a drop, though this might not be the case in computer fonts. Anyway, We then move on to the 4 strokes in 5 and write another mouth part right below that. Despite having so many strokes, this kanji has very well-defined parts that are relatively easy to keep distinct from one another. Hopefully, you'll be able to get this one down in no time. Historically, the parts for this have not changed. It appears that the word part on the left is used to give the kanji meaning, as parts on the left often do. 5 over mouth hints at the Chinese reading of go, as parts on the right often do. Indicate reading, not specifically the reading of go. For our story, a lot of mouth characters are coming out to play. A language is words coming out of. We won't be getting away from the word on the left just yet. And the story for this one will be similar to the one in language.
What is that kanji? Is that? It's close to hand, but it's not. Is it, is that 1,000? Yeah, it is 1,000. Oh. 1,000. A mouth says 1,000 words to equal a story. Why is language have 5 in mouth, but story has 1,000 words? That's funny.
Language. That's because this kanji means story. The official radical for story is word, which is likely not a surprise. The parts can be broken down into word, 1,000, and mouth. There are 13 strokes in story, making it just slightly less stroke heavy than language. Just like language though, this one is also fairly straightforward. We draw word on the left, making sure to keep it thin. As with language, in writing, the first stroke on top of word will usually be a drop, though this might not be the case in computer fonts. We then draw 1,000 on the right, with the no radical stroke followed by the horizontal one and the staff through it, making sure to keep the whole part in the upper right through it in computer fonts, though this might not be the case in computer fonts. We then draw 1,000 on the right, with the no radical stroke followed by the horizontal one and the staff through it, making sure to keep the whole part in the upper right quadrant for the most part. We then draw the mouth part below 1,000 and usually connected to it. Historically, this was always word on the left and a mouth on the bottom part of the right, but it used to be this part above mouth, which on its own can mean surname or family name. For our story for story, we'll
10,000. 10,000 words come out of your mouth to make a story. 10,000 words come out of your mouth to make a story. That's what I'm gonna go with.
help. That brings us to our first and only part for this lesson. This one is very easy to confuse with soil or dirt, but you'll notice that this kanji has a much longer first stroke. That makes it special. By the way, this kanji means specialist. Unfortunately, specialist is a kanji as well, though we won't be learning it for a while as one. It is its own official radical though. It can also be considered its only part. There are only 3 strokes in specialist, which are essentially the same as those in dirt. except that the first horizontal stroke in Specialist is much longer and must at least be longer than the third stroke, which is the horizontal one on the bottom. This kanji was apparently supposed to be a pictograph of a broadaxe. Apparently, the blade part is the bottom horizontal stroke, with the handle being the first horizontal stroke. I kind of think this one, taught to kids in old Japanese class, looks like a fantasy or Monster Hunter style broadaxe. Handle straight in the air, blades on either side resting in the dirt below, with the handle of the axe leaning on the hunter or something. For our story, we're going with pictograph of a broadaxe like this one. It takes a specialist to use a broadaxe.
Okay, I'll go with that one. It takes a specialist to use a, I'm just going to say large axe.
Like this. I know it probably seems like we just learned this fully as a kanji, and we kinda did, but when I say we're only learning it as a part, it's because we will not be covering any words with this kanji in it when we start learning words within sentences in a few videos. That's true for any kanji that we only learn as parts.
Okay.
Make sure to get subscribed so that you don't miss when we actually start teaching those. Did I sell you on that? Well, it doesn't really matter because this kanji means cell. The official radical for cell is specialist. We can break it down into specialist, hat, and person's legs.
Okay.
There are 7 strokes in cell. We start with the specialist, kind of smushed together on top, and then draw the hat just below it, the full width of the kanji. There are no left and right parts for this one. We then draw person's legs under the hat. Generally speaking, the legs will probably not be connected to the hat, though in some fonts or styles, it may appear parts for this one. Specialist, kind of smushed together on top, and then draw the hat just below it, the full width of the kanji. There are no left and right parts for this one. We then draw person's legs under the hat. Generally speaking, the legs will probably not be connected to the hat, though in some fonts or styles, it may appear that they're connected. Apparently, this kanji used to have the kanji for bai in the lower part, instead of hat and person's legs. That's likely the part that indicated the meaning. The version we are learning was adopted as an abbreviation for that, and is the one used in modern Japanese. So it kinda lost that hint of meaning in the parts. But it is very common, so you'll get used to it fast, I think. For our story, we're going to say that a specialist can sell anything, even a pair of sexy legs with a hat on, especially if he's wielding a broadaxe.
What is the story? A specialist a specialist a specialist wearing a hat a specialist wearing a hat and sexy legs can sell anything. Okay. Okay.
You may remember that in our story for hat, we said that anything connected to the top of the hat changed the special power that it gave you. So you could also use a story like this. This hat gives the hat wearer the skills of it in a word. When you can
So we have word and sell. Who sells words? A novelist?
read this kanji and you read it in a word, that word will likely have something to do with reading, because this kanji means read. The official radical for read is word, bringing us full circle on this lesson. The parts are word and sell. The kanji for read has is word, bringing us full circle on this lesson. The parts are word and sell.
Okay.
The kanji for read has 14 strokes, meaning we have the 2 highest stroke order counts to date in the same lesson. You can be angry if you want. We start by writing these 7 strokes in the word on the left part, followed by the specialist, hat, and person's leg parts from sell. It will likely take you a while to really get the balance down for this kanji, but it'll be excellent practice. Make sure to keep the person's legs separate from the hat part for the most part. Notice that the left leg and person's leg usually sweeps down under the mouth from the word part of it. Historically, the part on the right of this kanji was not sell, nor was it the old version of sell. Instead, there was a 4 thrown in there. Regardless, those parts were chosen for their Chinese reading at the time, not for any special meaning, apparently. And I don't think it will help you memorize this one very much anyway. I'm personally happy they simplified it. For our story, we'll go with say.
You know what? I'm fine with this.
Salesmen take the words people say and sell them for people to read.
If you've ever seen Violet Evergarden, it's an anime about sort of a cyborg humanoid, and they go into school to learn how to type and how to take people's requests, I should say, and relay the messages back to loved ones or potential lovers. And it's a great anime, Violet Evergarden. But I'm gonna say, just because it's specific to me, just because I've seen that, Violet Evergarden takes people's words and sells love. She doesn't actually sell them. She gets paid to write letters for people on their behalf. So I'm just gonna, and sometimes people come in and they are in love and they want a letter to send to their lover. So I'm gonna say Violet Evergarden takes people's words and sells love. And then next is the quiz. So we're done. So if you're still with me, give yourself a round of applause. This is great. I'm feeling good. We've accomplished a lot today. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We learned 11 new kanjis today. That's excellent. So on our next video, we're going to be on 17. And then we have, what, 17, 18, 19, 20. We have 8 more. 8 more, and that will lead us, I believe, into all of the 100 Kanken 10 and N5 kanjis that we need, if I'm not mistaken. So, let's keep up with this pace. Let's keep studying. Keep doing your Anki every once in a while, you know, on a weekend. I get really busy and I miss a day or two of my Anki, but don't get discouraged. Just the next day, it's going to take longer because those vocabulary words back up, and you're going to have to review those words, and you're going to have to review more of them. But it's fine. Some days you're going to be more busy than others. The days that you have some time, just catch up and try to stay on top of it. Other than that, thank you for sticking around with me. Thanks to all my followers. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if you just want to say hi, please leave a comment, and we can learn Japanese together, or English. Thank you for my English learners. I have a follower from Osaka and another follower. So thank you so much to my followers in Japan. If you're learning English, I hope that I speak slowly enough and clearly enough that you can start to pick up the pace and sound of English. Also, I have put the new subtitles, instead of them being auto-generated, I'm using YouTube's auto-translate in the back end of YouTube. So the translation should be much better when you go and you select to do subtitles in Japanese. It should be much better. So let me know how that is. And again, thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, I appreciate your support. And let's continue to study together and meet our goals. That's really what we need to do. So thanks again. Ganbatte. I'll see you next time. Mata ne.